For Vibe 105, this is Fatima Hussein covering the Caribbean Tales International Film Festival. And in focus today is the documentary Steadfast, The Messenger and the Message, a heartwarming tale of the woman who founded Black History Month in Canada. Joining us today at the Vibe 105 studios is none other than the Honourable Dr Jean Augustine. Welcome to Vibe 105, Dr Augustine.
Well, thank you so much, Fatima. Thank you. The first time on Vibe 105.
Absolutely. It's an honour to have you here with us today. Congratulations on the documentary. How are you feeling about it?
I'm very pleased that others have seen the message of the documentary. I'm very pleased that the vast number of people who've seen it so far have been liking the way it was done. They liked the way in which the documentary ran. It was not just my resume running, but that there was context around so many things. And I think that was really the purpose of the writers, that we would not just do my resume, but that they would put things in context. And I'm happy about that.
It was a wonderful story. It is a wonderful story. From Happy Hill, Grenada to Parliament Hill, Ottawa, your story is remarkable yet very relatable. Tell us about where it all began.
Well, it is relatable because it is the immigrant story. It's the story of all of us who came to this country, who make the decision to live in Canada, who make the decision to work in Canada, to go through what it means to be Canadian, how we adjust to life in Canada, and all of the issues around education, employment, housing, family, cultural, and all the other things that make us Canadian. And so for me, the story is the immigrant story. It's a story of a girl leaving Grenada, leaving Happy Hill, St. George's, Grenada, looking for education, post-secondary education, which there wasn't on the island, and taking the opportunity that was offered, the opportunity of the Canada-Caribbean domestic scheme, signing up that I will work in the Home of a Canadian for 1 year. I would get my landed immigrant status, I would get my citizenship, and I can make my life in Canada. At the time, we're talking about 1960, 61, many of us who came as immigrants, we were nation building, because at the time, we had no Charter of Rights and Freedom. That didn't come till 1982. We had no Landlord and Tenant Act, so that the landlord could say it's for rent, but not to you. We had many discriminatory, prejudicial, and other things in the society, that we had no recourse. We had no Human Rights Commission and Complaints Commission. We had no school board talking to us as parents about our children. We had no police, community relations. We were pushing and pushing. Eventually, we got the SIU. We got some changes in policing around height and weight requirements. There was so much that needed to happen in the society. And I consider all of the things that we did in those early days that I participated in was really nation building, getting us the policy, the rules, the recognition, the legislative processes, the fact that we were a diverse society, that we were not just English and French, British, and other words, that we were a multicultural, multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-religious society, and that there were lots that had to be done in order for us to truly be what the Prime Minister at the time called, the just society.
Absolutely, and therefore I'd say that your story is truly Canada's story. You were first a school teacher and educator, and then you transitioned into politics. What made you take that leap, and what was that journey like?
Well, I think when you're an activist, when you want to make things happen, when you belong to community and you want to see the community prosper, that the community is included in everything that there was in the society. That I spent all of my time kind of pushing in various directions, coming up with, how about us? How about this? How about this aspect that would make life better? How about promotional opportunities? How about some faces in the media that look like us? How about some educators? And when you were pushing, not just myself, but with so many others, pushing against the system to make things happen for the benefit of all of us. And as I said, for the building of this diverse Canada. What I found out, especially when I was chair of Metro Toronto Housing Authority, with people living in rent-to-income situation where life, the socioeconomic situation of people were, I realized the responsibility and somehow what needed to be done had to happen in the political arena. But I considered myself a strategist. I considered myself an activist. I considered myself someone who can work behind the scenes, etc. And so several times I was asked over the years, why don't you get into politics? I kept putting other people's names forward until I was told, I was kind of more or less confronted by saying, how about you? And if you who have the degree, the education, the experience being on boards and commission, the experience of leadership in so many different areas, if you are putting yourself back, how can you be pushing others? And I think that was the major question, or the answer to that question was the major deciding factor in my saying, yes, I'll do it. But Fatima, I didn't go all in. I kept my job, as a fallback. So if I didn't win, then I had something to, I had to make a living. I was raising 2 daughters. I had responsibility for others. And so the election was going to be in about September, October. And I thought, okay, take a leave of absence, get out there, looking around the country, especially when we gathered as people who were seeking political office. So I was the only Black face. I was the only Black woman, I should say, because we had Ovid Jackson, who was the mayor of Owen Sound at the time, or was the mayor of Owen Sound, who also was in the race. And then there was one other Caribbean person, Hedy Fry, in Vancouver. So there weren't a lot of Black faces and Black people around there. And so I became the first African Canadian to hold office.
That is marvelous. While reflecting on your tremendous journey, what was the biggest challenge being Jean Augustine?
The biggest challenge for me was really the challenge, not really challenges, but the expectations that there were from community. I think the day I was elected, the week I was elected, everyone in Canada who was a Black person at the time and engaged in and watched politics felt that they had sent me to Ottawa. And there was always that expectation that I would meet all the community needs, that I would respond to all the issues that faced the African Canadian community. And of course, no one person could be the savior, as it were, of all the issues that we had to deal with. And so that was a big challenge. And I must say that was a big challenge. And at the same time, it was the onus was on me to find ways and means to bring people, to find the allies and others in that political arena who would support some of those issues that I care deeply about, and some of the issues I know that the Black community cared deeply about.
The documentary is a first-hand account of your incredible story. What were your thoughts when you were first approached with the film's initial concept?
Who, me? Why me? There are so many interesting people out there with interesting lives. And so, again, I was doing the deflection, pushing the story to others. But there was a grand occasion. It was the occasion of my 80th birthday. And the turnout was just incredible. It was also an opportunity to raise funds for the chair in education, community, and diaspora at York University. And so we had something like 1,200 people. The place was packed. The program was great. The energy was incredible. And so the focus was on me, my 80th birthday. It was also the time of TIFF, and a couple of the movie stars, the big name stars had come out also to this. And it was a really buzzing evening. And I was asked by the producer, who was a friend, and also the camera and others, all those folks who were there, who were friends. We can do something with this. We can, this evening was just so motivating, was so energizing. We'd love to do something. And we started to talk. And of course, I did not want my bio. I didn't want, she was born here, she did this, she did this, she did this. So I thought, well, if you guys can come up with something that can tell my story, and remember we're talking about 59 minutes, about an hour. If you can tell my story in an hour and you can have it set in such a way. When I was born in 1937, what was the world like in 1937 when this girl landed in the world? What was the world like in Canada in 1960, 61 when I landed in Canada? What was some of the things? And so again, fleshing out and putting around the story, those historical pieces, I think made the documentary really worthy of watching.
Absolutely. It has been really wonderful chatting with you today. An honour, of course. Thank you so much for your time, and we're hoping to get you back soon on Vibe 105.
Okay, thank you, Fatima. I enjoyed talking with you all the time.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Dr. Augustine.